I would like to say a few words in the language of my mother, which is Aymara. I belong to the Aymara peoples. Askiurufan, Hilatanaka, Cuyacanaka, Nayana Sutijaja, Tirso Gonzales. What I have said is, dear brothers and sisters, my name is Tirso Gonzales and I belong to the Aymara people. Well, indigeneity is an issue that fundamentally is the intimate experience that indigenous peoples have with the land. This is a long-term experience, and this forms the basis of indigenous peoples' knowledge. Indigeneity, it cannot be understood in a vacuum. Indigeneity, it's part of this socio-political, economic context in which we have to place indigeneity. Indigenous peoples are nations within nation states. I'm talking about, for instance, Ecuador and Bolivia, where fundamentally is not just about the political constitutions of these countries, but also that the fundamental term related to indigeneity, which is kausai, life as a whole, has been accepted and is part now of the national development programs. Well, definitely, as I said, the most visible important cases about how the state is dealing with indigeneity in a positive way are the countries of Bolivia and Ecuador. But we have to say that doesn't eliminate by decree the fact that colonization is still, alive. How? Through issues related to coloniality of power, which is the way that society and the economy is organized. In short, is capitalist development and a capitalist society, and coloniality of knowledge, which is the way that we all are fundamentally educated and disciplined through different stages in our countries in Latin America. So what I'm saying is fundamentally that there is an issue in terms of coloniality of knowledge, the way that our institutions are still based on a particular way of knowing and being related to the world, and this is intimately related to coloniality of power, which is how society as a whole, the dominant society in particular, is viewing natural resources, is viewing the land, is viewing the territory. And that creates a conflict, it creates a tension with indigenous peoples, because in the indigenous peoples' worldview, we take care of three communities that are equivalent: the community of nature, the community of human beings, and the community of gods and deities. As we move on into the, let's say, 21st century, what we are witnessing is that we need intercultural dialogue. We need the state to be a state that is inclusive. We need international cooperation that is gonna be working this time towards a pluricultural, multicultural society. That means local knowledge, indigenous knowledge, scientific knowledge, all together will have to make a contribution. And that is one of the calls these days, which means then that colonization has to end. Because colonization, as Winona LaDuke said, is the digestion of one culture by another. And we don't need that anymore. What we need is diversity. Well, this is a very exciting area. The fact that we are going to have here in Kelowna this Calacs Congress is telling us the extremely important role of indigenous peoples in regards to autonomy and self-determination, which means that indigenous peoples are thinking seriously in terms of, for instance, education. Education for indigenous peoples in the Andes, with the communities that I work with in Peru, means Iskayachae, or Payatiwi in Aymara, which means two ways of knowing, right? So indigenous peoples are not, being autarkic, are not being exclusivist. What they want is exactly, dialogue among cultures. In that regard, basically, I think that there is a beautiful contribution, an important contribution to what alternative development should be about, and this is fundamentally community-based, culturally based development. Reason I think that it is of the utmost importance to acknowledge that the challenges are going to be for both the state, institutions and public servants, and the paradigms that have been in place for quite a while, especially during the last 70 years, and for indigenous Andean communities, which will have to also work on a number of important aspects related to their communities and their biocultural landscapes.